Hello and welcome to Bisnomics, your weekend's most profitable 60 minutes. I'm Thanadu Amarasekara. Now, there's a lot to complain about the current business environment. There is inflation, then there's the lack of supplies, then there is the tough demand conditions. But amidst all this, is complaining simply the way forward? They say that diamonds, true diamonds, are created under tremendous pressure. What do you need to know in order to be a diamond in this turbulent business world? Now, the world of sports gives us many lessons. Apart from the sweet victories and the distasteful defeats, there's also a lot of lessons to be learned from sports. Today, we bring Bisnomics to you with a slight twist. We have a decorated sports personality during his school days and his youth days. He can still call himself as someone who is young at heart. He has basically been playing multiple different sports at a national level, including rugby, basketball and even men's netball. Someone who has participated and won Mr. Sri Lanka, and today he is playing the role of the Vice President of Retail Assets and Liabilities Sales for the leading bank of DFCC. Our special guest today is none other than Mr. Duminda Silva. Duminda, it's an absolute honor to welcome a decorated sports personality such as yourself, and welcome to Bisnomics.
Thank you, Tadu. Thank you for the invite.
Duminda, there's a lot of lessons I'm pretty sure you have learned throughout your illustrious schooling career, especially in sports. You played rugby for your school, Trinity College in Kandy, and you're quite proud about it, as I'm quite sure. And you played basketball, and then even beyond school, while you were building up your corporate career, you have been involved in so many sports. And I believe you still consider yourself a sports person. You actively participate in sports practices, etc. What are the main lessons you have learned from sports that you apply to your business life, especially your corporate life? Let's start with that.
Yeah. So, to start with, practice makes you perfect. So, that is what the most important thing that I learned from sports. So, after that, the leadership, the attitude, teamwork, how to build your team, how to be a good sport, how to be a good individual who can bring a lot of things to the table to build your team performance. So, those are the things that I learned. So, when it comes to practice makes you perfect, that is where one individual who can do your homework properly and you come to the sports field. Before I talk about the business aspect of it.
Sure.
So, you can't just go and in my sports, you can't just take a basketball and just shoot and win a match.
No matter how talented you may be.
Not at all. So, you need to do a lot of preparation. So, that preparation, because you can do mistakes there, but when you get onto the field, you can't do mistakes there. And at the same way, at business level also, you can't do mistakes when you are doing business, but at training and development, you can do many mistakes. So, in sports, that is what I learned. You make all the mistakes during your training, then you build yourself and you get onto the field, then you'll perfectly do whatever you have to do in any sport or any level, at anything.
Understood. So, how do you look at the current tough market condition that the country is in? Because you and I, we can both admit that Sri Lanka is going through one of the worst times in post-independent history. How do you look at this current situation and how do you approach it? Because it's a tough time, Duminda, whether you're a CEO of a leading top company in Sri Lanka or whether you are simply someone selling something small or beetle leaves in the streets. It's a tough time for all Sri Lankans. So, I'm pretty sure in sports also you have sometimes gone into certain games being the underdog, being in a tough situation. Now, today entire Sri Lanka is an underdog nation in the eyes of the whole world, and that's the reality. How do you approach each day knowing that the situation is tough? What's your attitude? What's your approach?
So, that is where the leadership comes into play. So, I'm currently leading a sales team of about 200 people. So, during the tough times, you take the Saharan attack, then the COVID, then between COVIDs, you had many lockdowns. Then now you go on to the current situation that we are facing with fuel and so during this situation, your company wants to, you need to progress. Whatever the times, the tough time that you are going through, you can't just sleep and wait. So that is where the leaders need to step out and lead your team. Because normal time, good times, you can survive, right? Your leader may not, no need to be in the same way that in a situation like today. So therefore, you need to take the burden of your teammates. You need to guide them properly with proper direction, and you have to stand by them. Because during these hard times, they will do mistakes. So if you have planned these things, if you plan these scenarios before, then you can come out as winners. So I was very happy to lead my team during these 3 occasions that and the current situation. And we as a team have been very successful in that all the whatever the targets or the goals that we were given by our management during our these 4 years. So what I did as a leader, I took the burden from them. Then I was with them full time. I was encouraging them, motivating them, just being there. And when they do something, you need to be accountable for them. So that is where we lack in the current context in this country situation. So that is where my team's success has come all about.
So you are a strong believer of a leadership approach of boots on the ground. The leader can no longer be detached or working from a remote plush office. He has to be there on the ground with the team and move with the team. Is that correct?
Always, always.
Duminda, when you look at the current scenario, so how do you communicate to them in a manner? I'm going to later ask you about what parallels you draw between sports and business, but specifically about leading a team, as you said, what is your message to them? How do you really motivate a set of people who are basically coming to office or work? Probably they've spent hours in the fuel queue, they've spent hours in the gas queue, they've spent they're worried whether they can find the basic food that is required. Their life savings are basically dwindling and going down with all these problems happening around. So they come with so much of problems. How do you really communicate to them? Are you a firm believer of the rule that when you cross the line of the office and come in, that your personal problems can stay back, your office life has to continue? Or do you try to understand the emotions of the people and connect with them? I'm curious to know this.
Good question, Tarendu. In today's context, emotional intelligence has come into play in big time. If you look at the research papers throughout during the past 10 years, emotional intelligence has come into play. That is, the feelings of you and the feelings of the other person as well. So if you are a true leader, you need to know the feelings of the other people as well. One of my strengths is I always, when a newcomer joins the bank, I take some time with him and I ask about the family background, what is your mother is doing, what is your father is doing, whether they are retired, whether they have any health conditions, so on, so on. You're married, what's your wife doing? So we go on to, not only me, even my other team members, my managers and the team leaders, we go on to that level of information gathering. Then you really know what are the issues that this, I should say, the salesperson or this boy is facing or this girl is facing. Because today I found a lot of kids who work with me, who come just out of school, they have not got the love from their parents, from their homes. Because one thing is, it's fair enough, your mother had to work, your father had to work, not like the period that I was a kid or a youngster.
Where there is at least one parent at home to look after
you. Yes. So my mother was there always at home, my father was working. So now it's not the scenario. So you need to act like a boss, then a brother, father, mother. You need to have all those qualities in you. If you want to be a great leader, you need to inculcate those things in you. You have to look at them in that scenarios when they come to you for any solution. You need to look at by being in their shoes, and then you advise them. So there are many examples that I can bring about where these young kids who come to me for different advice, not on the business line, that I always do, but on a personal matter. And as a leader, you should be open to them, and they should be feel free. I of course have open door policy where they can come at any time and meet me, or they can call me at any time. I have a habit of returning all the calls on time. So whenever I miss a call, I return them because they need me. That's why they call me. So in that sense, I think I have been able to manage these my team members to a great extent, and that help which I have given, they have reciprocated me with performance.
Excellent. So be an emotionally understanding leader, and they will reciprocate whatever that investment you do in terms of time and effort to understand them with performance. I think that's a new, probably the new equilibrium of leadership and the new equation of leadership today, Duminda. Let's talk about parallels between sports and business. Like I said, decorated sports personality and now successful business leader. Duminda, how do you really draw parallels between sports and business?
Business, Tarinder, is a game.
Business is a game.
It's a game, right? You need to win. If you lose, you will go bankrupt, right? So in sports also, you do sports to play. Recently, we have a habit of cycling to work these days. So DFCC is promoting that heavily. So we got a professional trainer. So I was talking to him, and I said, can I compete in anything? He said, I said, I can't do the triathlon, I can't swim, but I can run and cycle. So he said, you can do the duathlon. So I said, can you train me? He said, do you want to just do it or you want to win it? I said, no, I want to win it. I want to compete. There is no way in my life, whatever aspect or whatever thing that I do, I compete and I want to win it.
So you're not a big fan of this very ancient wisdom that says no need to win, participation is good enough. No, you participate to win.
You participate to win, and you do your pre-preparation for that.
Correct.
So in sports, you need to have your game plan, right? You have to have your game plan. You need to know where you are standing, where you want to go, how we are going to get there, and ensure that level by winning. I have lost many. I know how to lose also. That I have. I learned from losing many times, right? I don't say that I have won all the matches that I played. Lost many. If you talk about Michael Jordan, he has missed many shots than he has scored.
But he's remembered for the ones he scored.
A legend of basketball, right? So then in business also, you need to have a plan. Of course, unlike those days, you can't have very long-term 10 years plans.
But the world
changes, the environment changes so fast. But still you need to have a plan. And scenario planning. So in sports, what we do is scenario planning. If you play rugby, so you have defense. In defense, what you do? If you get a scrum in the middle, what you do? When you're attacking, in your 40, what you do? In your 25, in your 10 meters, 5 meters, what do you do? So all those things counts a lot. So these scenarios you plan. So in business also, you need to do scenario planning. That is where you need to anticipate these things will come in the future. So in my team, all my team members, I did a small session few months ago, and that is reality today. So they are geared up to this COVID time. I told them, you're going to face this. There will be a lockdown. I was not 100%, but that happened. So that scenario planning, if you go back to 1970s, I think Shell company brought this scenario planning into into the world. If you go to the research papers, you can find out. So they were very successful how to capture the market. So in business, in sports, you need to have your plan, and that those plans should be practiced, anticipated, and you need to have that proactive way of looking at things and planning.
What lessons does sports offer when it comes to areas like critical decision making? Let's talk about that on the other side of this short break. This is Bisnomics. Welcome back to Bisnomics. Our focus today is on the lessons from sports to face the situation and conditions of the tough business world that we are in right now. And for this, we have a decorated sports personality who is none other than Duminda Silva. Duminda, let's talk about critical decision making, because the business environment is critical. It's so dynamic, it's changing so fast. So a lot of the success depends on making those split-second decisions at the right time. Now, in sports, I believe you find the extreme version of this, because as a rugger, right, sometimes your decision between am I going to pass the ball to my right or to my left would, and I'm not rugged, but I believe you are allowed to pass the ball to both sides.
Yeah.
And I believe that that decision can be the result of the end result, where you know whether you either score a try or not. How do you apply some of those lessons and experience to your business life on a daily basis?
So like you very correctly said, Tarindu, you have sometimes a split second to make a decision. And like you said, that decision will tell you whether you're going to score a try or whether you're going to score a basket. So for that doesn't come from the sky. You need to practice, as I mentioned earlier, like the scenario planning, all those things. So when you face that kind of situation, you're fully geared up to take up that challenge. So practice makes you perfect. Again, I need to, I think throughout this interview, I will tell practice makes you perfect, because I'm a firm believer of that. So that is where your leadership qualities come in, what you have learned through sports. Then your discipline, your punctuality on training ground, and because in sports, you need to, we have a training method called periodization. So different periods you need to train in different way, and you need to know where you are going to play, because you will face different situations, different environments. So in those environments you need to play as well. So through sports, that had been inculcated in me, and that has given a lot of support through me to develop whatever the sales business that I do in my career. So that is where I have successfully, I should say, year on year hitting targets, because the critical decision making is so important, and sports has given me that courage to take critical decision making also in the perfect way, and you need to take calculated risk also. So otherwise you won't be successful, and that I again emphasize calculated risk, not just risk. So when you take calculated risk, then you know where you are going, you know your limitations, you know your weaknesses, you know your strengths, then you play according to that. So through that, so you analyze the competition, you analyze the market conditions, macro factors, micro factors, all those things you analyze, then you plan it. That is how even in sports you play the game.
Interesting viewpoint there, Duminda. Are you, in other words, saying that as in sports, in the business world too, you need to be comfortable being in uncomfortable situations? Is that what you are trying to indicate?
Of course. I'll bring a new perspective to this. That is what you call sportsmanship. So when I mention sportsmanship, you will think it's the sportsmanship that you see on the field. there are two sportsmanship. One is the sportsmanship that we all see during games and matches. So one example is the high jump. If you have watched the last Olympic,
Correct.
where they shared the medal together. So the kata jump athlete, he could have just jumped and got the gold medal, but he said we'll share it. So that is sportsmanship. And there were another two in the 3,000 meters, if I'm not mistaken. One fell on the other, and you have worked hard for 4 years to win this event, and your entire dream is gone haywire. So, but they got up and ran together and finished the event. So that is sportsmanship on the field. This is the sportsmanship that I'm talking about. You mentioned about underdog also. This is the underdog that I'm going to talk about. This sportsmanship behavior is defined as non-complaining behavior under difficult circumstances. So that is where people, especially in the sales field, we see people with complaining behavior, not helping behavior, non-helping behavior, and so on, so on. So this is where the sportsmanship behavior come into organization. If you can, in your selection process, if you can select these people with sportsmanship behavior, your end results will be always exponential growth. Because as a manager, as a leader, if my people, my salespeople, or my teammates doesn't complain, imagine the time that you have for your strategic thinking, to do the strategy. On the other hand, if you have people who are always complaining, then you need to wait and see whether this guy is coming on time, whether they are doing their work, whether they are on the phone, or so on, so on. So if you can build this sportsmanship behavior, it can be built also. It just don't come. You can build it also. So if you can build sportsmanship behavior in others also, and if you can analyze who are the people in your organization who are with sportsmanship behavior, and you mix the others who don't have like unsportsmanship behavior, then you mix together, they will also build the sportsmanship behavior. Through that, you will have a peace of mind to focus on your strategy. That will give the organization the growth that you are looking for through this entire sales people.
Duminda, now, we always say excuses don't bring us results, it's the effort. And especially nowadays, if you look at the Sri Lankan context, with the economy in this very problematic situation, there's enough excuses and valid excuses that people can complain about. But same thing in sports. I believe when you go for a rugby match, when you get to the field, it may have rained and it might be really damp. And I believe, unlike cricket, rugby is a game that you play even when it's raining, cats, dogs, and the entire farm.
Yes.
So when you go for a game of rugby, no excuses. You have to somehow win. I believe any sport is like that. Excuses are not acceptable. How do you really bring in, or rather, how do you prevent an excuse-driven culture within the team and bring in a proper results-oriented culture into your business and into your team? What is your mantra for doing that?
So I'll first talk about the sports aspect of it.
Correct.
So like I said,
and do feel free to share any examples of some of the memorable games you have as well.
So so I'll relate with the example where we went to Australia to play against Northern Territories team.
I believe the sport is
rugby.
Rugby.
Yeah. So that was, I think, in 1998, if I'm not mistaken. So first game we lost because their size is maybe twice the size of us. They have the strength, power, and everything. But then the second game came after 1 week. So we trained. We trained hard, and we had that winning attitude always. So we lost by about 20 points in that game.
The second game.
First game.
First game.
First game. So we need to catch up, and then we need to score. So we are 20 down. So that's the tally that they look at and over the cup. So I was not a very senior, but experienced person at that team. during that time. So with our captain, we got together and we built that positive attitude in us. Never give up, can-do attitude, all those things. It's like the sportsmanship behavior that I discussed.
Yes.
So now only I got to know about it because I am doing my research on sportsmanship behavior. But I see that when I go back in my memory lane, that I have seen many people with sportsmanship behavior. So when you look at these individuals also, there are success stories that sportsmanship behavior. So we came to the match and we end up with 49 points to 20 and we won the league. So during that entire week, we were together, we were building the team, we were rebuilding. Whoever was demotivated, we were motivating them. We were sharpening our tools to be sharp on the field. So we all did that. So in today's context also, we need to look at these as scenarios. We can't take it as a whole and do it. Because today you don't have fuel, tomorrow you may not have, now in office we don't have milk powder. Correct. So we drink plenty, but nobody complains about it. That is,
you do the best with what you've got.
What you got. So that attitude, you need to build it. So like I said, we have the culture, we have a lift, so we have put boards in our bank with if you climb these steps, you will burn 6 calories or something. So we can bring certain things with these conditions to suit these conditions, certain things to motivate people. And that is also leadership comes into play. So you need to think as a leader, then you have to bring this motivational aspect of it to the table, and you need to motivate these people and make them believe in that success will come. Then you are on the right track.
In terms of building the team spirit, so that's about making them believe about success and you get them out of the excuse mindset. Any special tactics you do? So you touched upon some of these earlier, but any special tactics you do to build a stronger team spirit, like this whole one for all for one attitude? Duminda, how do you drive that? Because a lot of business leaders want to have that in their organizational teams and departments as well.
So what most of the sports captains, what they try to do is, they are trying to build their team, but you don't get involved in it. You are outside person. No, you need to get inside, be with them, back with them.
Boots on the ground.
On the ground. You be with them. That is where we have gone wrong. If you analyze the teams that had lost during the years, you can do a great analysis. So today, even at a training, I saw this trainer is doing something where he went on to the score sheet of the 1996 World Cup, and I was also amazed with that. Where we thought that Sanath Jayasuriya and Kalu Vitharan had scored more. Okay. No, they have scored very little runs. 100, not even 200, if I'm not mistaken, Sanath Jayasuriya. Kalu is less than 100. But the impact that they brought in. So during these periods, you need to find these impact players in your team, whether be it sports or organization. You have impact players. You need to, so as a leader, you need to identify these people beforehand, not at the time that you come to like a situation like today. Yeah. You need to, that's why I said you need to know their emotions, you have to be with them, you have to know what they do, their capabilities, talents, and so on. There are many tools that you can judge those and bring it to table. So you know these impact players. If you see even in basketball sometimes you have in the middle you have impact player. They come and put 2-3 shots, and they bring the momentum to the next level, and other team can't cope up with it. So in your team also you need to find these impact players. So those impact players, because normal players will anyway do their job.
Correct.
But we need some kalu vitarana kind of people in our team to change the whole dimension and play. So those two came into play with that style of play in 1996, and that gave us the. But captain knew who are your main scorers. I think Aravinda, Arjun Rantunga, and Guru Singh, they were all higher scorers than Jayasuriya and Kalvitarna.
Correct.
Right? When you look at if you analyze the score sheet.
Interesting insights, Duminda. How do you really handle pressure during these crucial, tough times? Let's talk about that on the other side of this break. This is Bisnomics. Welcome back to Bisnomics, your weekend's most profitable 60 minutes. I'm Tharandu Amarasekara. Our focus today is on the lessons from sports to the world of business, especially during the current tough times. And our special guest today is none other than Duminda Silva. Duminda, let's talk about the most important aspect of handling pressure, because you have to be able to handle pressure when you're playing a sport. They say that's one of the greatest gifts that a sport will give you, the ability to handle pressure. In your experience, how do you really prepare your team to handle pressure yet perform?
Tarandu, again, I'll give some examples from sports. I enjoy pressure. If you don't have any pressure, there is no challenge then. It's an easy win for you. I don't think I get motivated for my next game if I have an easy game today. But if I have a tough game, I'll do my planning well, like I said earlier. I'll sharpen my tools. If I'm going for the next year, I will see what are the tools that were missing in my toolbox. Then I'll add one or two tools and perfect those tools. So then I'll be a better player. If you have heard about LeBron James, that is how he had improved over time. He's also one of the great basketball players ever seen. So he always add two, three things for the next NBA season. So in this pressure situation also, like I said earlier, you have your team players, you know their strengths and weaknesses. Then you need to, as a leader, you need to bring in these people at various occasions to rise to the occasion. Then you will be a winner. So having these tools in place with them, which you need to do pre-preparation, training and development. I'm a firm believer of training and development. So you do that. Then pressure, you will enjoy pressure, because you know at any given time you have an army of people who can shoot from various guns, machine guns to shotguns to whatever you name it, to missiles or anything. Because when you have that kind of a army with you, you will enjoy pressure. And at the same time, when you enjoy pressure, you know somebody is not enjoying the pressure. That is your competition, right? That is where you will get the competitive advantage over your competition.
Correct.
So therefore, then when you have that competitive advantage, you will enjoy every day of pressure that you get, day in, day out, and then ultimately at the end of the game, you will feel, is that what you call pressure?
Interesting perception there. I mean, in terms of what you can do with regard to pressure, and how when you enjoy the pressure, how the competition will begin to even hate it more. Very good insight, Duminda. I've read in some of the most successful sports teams of the world, sometimes the coach, the day after the game, when they do the analysis, they start by showing the mistakes of the star player, saying, if the star player is willing to accept the errors and corrections, the others should naturally be willing to do the same. Duminda, in other words, we talk about this tough love, the importance of being critical where it's needed, yet, out of all the good heart that where you want the team to perform. How do you practice tough love on the teams that you lead, Duminda? And do you think that today's leaders, team leaders, must show that?
So, in the business context, when it comes to my teams, so you have your meeting room. So, whatever happens in that meeting rooms, it's inside that meeting rooms. It doesn't go beyond that. Once I close the door and come out, that's there. That's it. So, we have heated arguments in my meetings. Even a person who joins month ago has the right to speak. So, I always ask them why you have not done. Then I give them direction also. So, then second time if you repeat, then it's a tough call that you make. You need to make tough calls also in your meetings room. So, like you said, when you come out of the meetings room, right, I would have had a heated argument, or I would have given whatever I had to give that when it comes to performance or non-performance or whatever you call it, and even picking your team leader or the best player and telling this is what you have done, because there is no anger towards it. That is business, because we are running a business and we are liable to the shareholders of the company.
Correct.
So, I am being paid for that. So, if I not achieve my target, then I should pay back to the company also, right. So, as you said, that is inside the room. That is a issue in the current context, because people don't understand this is related to business. This is nothing personal. But like I said, my door is open. If the same person come for a personal opinion or a help, I will treat that person in a different way. I will never have whatever I had in my meetings room, the argument that I had when I come to my room. That's done. So, then what they will see as a leader, they'll believe that leader, okay, this guy is a nice guy. When it comes to business, it's business. Work is work. Outside, he's a lovely guy. I hope they see me as a lovely guy. Because my voice and way I look and all, some people think I'm a very tough guy. Yes, I'm a tough guy.
You certainly do look good on camera, so
yeah.
I think I can give you that reassurance, Duminda. Duminda, in terms of networking, how important is networking in today's business world? Because they say more than how much you have and what you have learned, who knows you and whom do you know matters a lot today. In other words, we call it as social capital. How important, in your view, is networking, especially during these tough times?
I think that is one of my greatest strengths, Tarindu. I'm lucky, and I think I'm blessed with friends, blessed to meet different people from different walks of life. Maybe because the 3 sports and the other fashion activity that I have done. So, I met many friends, and this network had lifted me to a greater heights. So, I remember I was at another bank before joining DFCC bank. So, when I joined, that was DFCC Vardhana, not many people have heard of, but this network gave me that power and the courage. You can work there and we'll help you, and that help came through my entire network. So, how I build this network, being with them from small days to day. So, I had the opportunity of doing athletics also. So, I did 3 sports in schools. So, that's a large crowd in school. We have about 2,000 students in school. So, that's about sporting circle is about 1,000 to 1,500 in school. So, I know all of them. Then when I left school, I had the opportunity of representing Sri Lanka while I was in school. Then that network Then I had the opportunity of playing for many teams, like to Kennedy Sports Club, to CNFC, to CHNFC.
And even since you mentioned about this, do you feel that now in your days, sports, physical activities were the way of networking? Do you feel that sometimes the modern generation, the younger generation, maybe the Gen Zs, that they are too much engrossed in the digital world and with their mobile platforms, and as a result, they are losing out on some of the real human connections, especially in the business context? Because even in conferences, trainings, where those days you see people mingling, they are talking with each other. Nowadays, you see most of them just on the phone.
That's very true, Tarindu. I have built in my sales team also, and I have shown the way, the importance of networking, because whatever happens, they come to me, and in my phone, I have a solution. I have a person to call and get something done. So, not only in sports that I build it, this is what we need to inculcate in this younger generation. Because they are so different to us. So if I talk about the groups that I'm networking groups that I'm Roundtable, to Hash House Harriets, to BNI, to so many other things. There are so many others like Lions Club and Rotary, and there are so many other things. So with that, I have built a different kind of people, different business circle as well. So we need to somehow inculcate this habit in them. Of course, you do digital networking also. So either not like those days. Now there is much opportunity with the digitalization for networking.
Correct.
Because any given time you can get into a social group, WhatsApp group, and so on, and you can build network. But what you are doing in that social group is the issue.
Correct.
So if you can inculcate these good habits in that. So what I did was, with this WhatsApp group, there is a thing called broadcast list.
That's right.
So all my sales team, they have segmented their entire clientele. Most of them have very successful person in Kurunegala. If you go and one of my best sales guys, if you ask him, show me your network, you will be amazed with that, because you have the doctors, you have specialists, you have architects, you have engineers, you have teachers,
so
you have
whom to reach out
Grama Sevaka, everybody in that network. And he's a very, very successful team member of mine, achieving targets without any issue. He just don't achieve targets. He achieved 300-400%.
Oh, wow.
So this is through the networking.
Duminda, on a final note, sales, your area of forte, once again, your area of expertise, toughest to do in tough times. They say making sales happen these days is quite tough. How do you create that winning sales culture within the team? We will have that as the final question for you today.
Yes. So I don't know whether all the sales head will agree with me or not, but I have to mention this. I think education is a huge factor that will contribute to this winning culture. Because sales, have been telling all my sales people and all the sales, whoever the sales heads, I have many friends who are sales heads. I said, we need to get at least 4-5 CEOs from our circle as CEOs in companies. We don't see CEOs,
sales
CEOs in a company who have done sales.
Correct.
We have the accountants and all the other planning people and all there. But we are the people who have brought business to the company.
Are you calling the sales people as the real doers?
They are the real doers. They are the real doers, right? Others give orders, right? We go and we know what's happening on the street. So why there's a different perception about the salesman. So they're sales guys. So they need, we need as a salesman, we need to earn that respect from them. We need to change this perception. So how we are going to change this perception? Because sales skills, you don't need to tell or teach anybody. But if you have the education qualifications, then you will add value to what you say. As a salesperson, when you go to the boardroom or to a meeting, your CEO will ask the question last from you, right? But that we need to change it. How we are going to change it is through education. If you give proper guidance and education, there are so many institutions now have the sales qualification.
Correct.
Of course, it was in English before. Now you can.
It's trilingual now.
It's trilingual. So you have that opportunity. So as sales leaders, we need to push our salespeople to get themselves educated. I mean, I also a late start to education, but somehow I managed to do my whatever the MBS and all up, and that's why I'm here. That's why I'm leading a team successfully, because it has immensely impacted my performance, the education that I have got. So I will always encourage the salespeople to educate themselves. That is where you build the spirit out of it, and you will be accepted in the society. We need to change this perception, and I'm in the front of changing that perception. I'm sure that before I die, I will see many salespeople leading these organizations in Sri Lanka.
Duminda Silva, decorated sports personality, multitasker, and it was an absolute pleasure to have you on the show today, getting your perspectives on lessons from sports for the world of business. Wish you and the team good luck to keep winning, and may the spirit of winning that you are a big fan of, a devotee of, I would say, may that spirit go and engulf the entire economy of Sri Lanka as a flame, and may all that attitude, the winning attitude, help the Sri Lankan economy to come out of the difficult situations. Thank you so much for joining us, and wish you all the best.
Thank you, Tarindu, for this invite.
The 4 Ps that business can learn from the world of sports, and that is very simply, persistent practice produces perfection. And no matter what business you may be in, one lesson that you could take too is practice, whether it's your sales art, whether it's your art of presentation, no matter what your specialization or specialty is, keep on practicing, because this is a time the economy needs the perfect contribution from all the economic stakeholders to make things right. I'm Tarandu Amarasekara, and no matter what industry you may be in, have a profitable week ahead. I'll see you with the next episode. This is Bisnomics.